on our minds and how we choose to direct our energies, what we choose to give priority to, and what we deem as important. There's a reason why so many hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent on taking up space in our minds because it's the most valuable asset that we have. There are algorithms and there are emotional hot buttons that are designed to keep their attention, keep them distracted, and keep them watching and engaging. So that's the power of the mind. So the individuals that are fostering, build multi-billion dollar tech companies, they're doing it, and ginormous conglomerates, they're doing it because they understand the power of occupying space in somebody's head. And that's the whole ball game. So for us, what's most important is that we understand that we can harness that power as well. And so when you're looking at a business that's structured the way our business is structured, yes, it's very simple. It's simple because we're going into the market and we're saying, look, you don't have to consume harmful chemicals and toxins. You don't have to buy cheap crap. You don't have to continue to fund these mega billion dollar conglomerates who don't have your best interests. You actually have a better option. And it's a better option holistically. It's not just because it's cleaner, it's organic, it's non toxic. It's not just because we employ over 4,000 American workers. It's not just because everything is made here. It's because there's a holistic philosophy that encapsulates all of that. And there is an ideology of financial stewardship, an ideology of building your cash flow, of earning way more money each month than you could possibly spend. There's an ideology of setting yourself and your family up for legacy wealth transfer. That's not a common everyday conversation. That's not what's at the top of the list for most people who are working as an employee. It's not at the top of the list for most people, period. So when we're bringing that much value to the marketplace, and on top of that, we're willing to back up everything that is consumed with a 90-day empty bottle money back guarantee, well, that allows us to have incredible standing in any conversation that we have. So what's the biggest culprit that we have to contend with? It's the person that you're looking at in the mirror. So you have to be willing to not only take accountability, but also to understand where you're having distractions, time leaks, and emotional leaks. Meaning, sometimes you can identify a person's priority by how they're moving emotionally in their life. And I have seen it, and I've been subject to it. I've experienced it. It's happened so many times in my journey, and you all have too, where you'll see someone, you'll have somebody in your life, and they're doing really well, and they get involved in an emotional dynamic. It could be, my sibling is addicted to drugs, and I'm trying to help him. Well, they don't want to be helped. Yeah, but it's my sibling. Yeah, but you don't understand that that's not going to end well. Yeah, but it's my family. So that person allocates all of their emotional and energetic focus to this person who ends up sucking all the life out of them. That person never gets better because they don't want to. And now that person that was, on this path and they were having success, they were building a career, they've ruined it because they've allowed themselves to get emotionally distracted. You've seen it when people go through a divorce. Like sometimes one person does well, the other person can't recover, and they get depressed and they go into this deep darkness, and they're not showing up for work. They end up losing their job, and because their emotional track has taken them off of their life track, their purpose track. We've seen it with people that lose they get fired, they get downsized unexpectedly. Well, you don't understand, Ed, that job was my whole life. That was my career. That's who I was. No, no, that's who you were. Who do you want to be? And then we watch people, they internalize that, they make it personal. It becomes a permanent way of talking to themselves, and they talk themselves out of their future because they're stuck in something that happened in the past. So, understanding that our task, our opportunity is to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and take accountability for how we're showing up every day, one day at a time. I don't expect anyone to be able to really capture and embrace where I'm going to be 5 years from now. Yeah, you can have an idea, you can have a vision for it, but we all understand, life is exciting and adventurous, and it could take us so many different directions and so many different pathways. We'll still end up having the success that we're committed to, but we may not get there the way that we thought, and we have to be open to that. I thought I was going to make, a certain amount of calls and I was going to get a certain result. Well, that didn't work. So I had to change it up. And so I had to increase the number of calls. I had to increase my ability to build relationship on social media. I had to increase my going out on purpose and just, going out to get a bagel. And sure enough, I meet somebody in line. And sure enough, we start up a conversation. Sure enough, I get them on to see the information. So just because it's not unfolding the way you thought it was supposed to doesn't mean it's not going to unfold. And that goes back to the conversation that you're having with yourself. It's the most important conversation you're going to have. And the beauty of what we do is that the numbers keep us accountable, the results keep us accountable, the stories keep us accountable, and it reminds us constantly what's available, what can be done, because somebody's already doing it. Whatever it is that you want to do here with this business, somebody's already doing it. Whatever goal you have, somebody's already done it. Whatever income focus you have, somebody's already doing it. So it can be done. It's not a question of is it going to work? The question is, am I going to do what's required? Not are you going to work? I know you know how to work. Are you going to do what's required? There's a difference between doing what is required and doing the work. And until you're willing to do what's required, then you're going to be missing and leaving some money on the table. You're going to be leaving some part of yourself out of the process, out of the equation. And the way I look at it, going back to that inner conversation, is I look outside my window and I see, some houses. And when I walk out the driveway and I look to my left and right, there are houses. Across the street, there are houses. And I can knock on anybody's door, and I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, the doors that I knock on my own block, no one will have heard of Melaleuca. No one. So when I think about what I do and my joy in connecting with people and forging relationships, then it's just a matter of time. And it's funny because I was talking about, like, I thought we were further along in our recruitment than we were. And I had to go back and look at the numbers, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, there were people that we brought on, and Nadia was like, well, yeah, but some of those people, they're not here. And I was like, oh, okay. So I I was looking at our numbers, and yeah, we still have a very high rate of retention, but I want 100% retention. Like, I don't want 93%. I want 100% retention. I want to be better in terms of the quality of conversation that I have when people are deciding to get started. I want to be better in vetting out people. I want to be better in sharing how I share and building relationship and connecting with people. Because the better I do that, then the higher the retention goes. And even though what we experience as a whole, 96% retention is unheard of. It's unmatched. No one's going to be able to do that. I still believe in going for that 100% goal, even though it might be unattainable. I like reaching for it, because if we reach for 100% and we end up at 97, I'm okay with that. So focus is going to be a theme in the month of February. Focus is so important because the greatest asset is your attention. Your biggest capital is your attention. Where are you putting your attention? What are you allowing to take up bandwidth in your life? Ladies and gentlemen, I understand. Like, I get it. life is relentless. It's going to continuously keep coming at you. You're going to have to juggle and deal with different things at different times. And some of it's beyond your control, some of it's within your control. It's not going to stop. You just have to make some better choices. That's all about what you're going to give your attention to. It ain't easy. It's not easy. It takes time. Like maybe it'll take you a little bit to get there, but you have to have a goal of getting there. Um, I notoriously was was underestimating the amount of time it takes to move through, certain things. And it wasn't until I was doing a talk and I was talking about when so the one of the gyms that I work out at, there's a person that comes in, and when they're there, I get really inspired because they are morbidly obese. I mean, morbidly obese. Like I was really not understanding how they were gonna like actually get onto a machine to use it. That's how big this person is. And yet this person comes, they're there most of the time that I'm there. And so when you look at that, it's not abnormal for someone to look at that person and not see a positive future regarding their health and their well-being and their fitness. That is not abnormal. I cannot fault someone for looking at that physical being and saying, why are they even here? There's no way they're going to lose all that weight. That is a reasonable conclusion to come to. But it was Eric Butterworth who said, if you're starting with reason, then you're not going to do anything that is life changing, for it is the unreasonable expectation that leads to transformation. And so that person has a vision for where they're going, and they're working toward that vision. And I promise you, at the end of that workout yesterday, they felt a little bit better about themselves. And if they only focus on how much further they have to go, they wouldn't even bother showing up today, wouldn't come. But what they're focusing on is where they're going, not how far they have to go. They're focusing on where they're going. You see, if I were to put you in the ocean and I put you out far enough where you're going to have to struggle, but at least you can see the shore, you're not going to say to me, hey, Ed, how many strokes does it take to get to the shore? Because if it's not the right number, well, I'm just going to call it a day. I'm going home to. No, you're not going to say that. You're going to swim and until you reach the shore. You're not going to negotiate the number of strokes it takes to get there because your mindset and your focus is on getting to the shore. My focus is on getting to this level that we have, this initial target, and then the target after that, and then the target after that. There's no other consideration until we hit those targets. It is non-negotiable. And so we have to have that same level of focus in the midst of the weight and the baggage and the stuff that life is going to bring us. And I'm giving you a metaphorical, realistic example because that person that's morbidly obese, that's how life is sometimes. Sometimes life is just heavy. Sometimes the emotional weight, it's just almost as much as we can bear. And we still have to get up and get after it. Because that's how we found out who we are and what we're made of. And so we all can relate to that physical example because emotionally we've had to deal with some trial and some tribulation. We've had to deal with some challenges. We've had to deal with some negative self-talk. And so if you're not willing to do the work, well, it doesn't matter what I'm saying. You have to be willing to do the work. Are you willing to do your daily affirmation card and make sure that you're reading them every day, starting your day and ending your day with that? Are you willing to continue to read and get better, working on yourself constantly, expanding your mind, getting better at being a human being, getting better at how you show up? Are you willing to do it when it's really, really hard? It's when, people don't show up. It's when they're not returning your calls. It's when it doesn't seem like you could buy somebody. You can't pay somebody's way to get started. Are you willing to show up with the same amount of energy and enthusiasm and a good attitude? Are you willing to do that on your worst days? Because how you show up on your worst days determines the length and the quality of your best days. How you show up on your worst days determines the length and the quality of your best days. People get it twisted. They think, "Oh, I'm on a hot streak. Oh, I can't miss, Ed." Yeah, that's fine. I want to see how you are when you do miss. I want to know how you respond when nothing, you can't buy a bucket. Like, how do you show up then? So that's our theme for February. It's about focus. If there are any takeaways, because I don't want to be too long on this call because this is the last day of the month. So we have some specific goals that we're focusing on hitting before the clock strikes 2 a.m. tonight. So we want to get that. We're going to keep pushing until the clock runs out in the month of January. But if there's anything that anybody wants to share before we wrap it up, the floor is open. And by the way, if you got some value out of this, hit like and subscribe.
You muted yourself.